You're listening to an episode of the Abigail Pugh podcast with, you guessed it, Abigail Pugh. I'm an introverted mama who took my online business from 0 to 7 figures in 15 months selling my own digital products on social media. And guess what? I did it all with my 3-year-old daughter no less than 3 feet away from me at all times. Now I'm bringing you everything I've learned about building a wildly profitable online business that supports your life while allowing you to truly live it. Get ready for raw, honest conversations with entrepreneurs making thousands per month selling their own digital products and people just like you who ditch self-doubt to create the life they've always wanted. If you're ready to make more money, have more impact, and still have time for the things that matter most, you're in the right place. Grab your sneakers, head out on your hot girl walk, and let's dive in. So last week's podcast episode, I went over all of the 2024 goals that I did not hit. So for this week, I thought it'd be really fun to go through my 2025 goals. Now, again, I know I talked about this a little bit last week, but the way I set revenue goals is different than how I set kind of regular life and business goals. So when it comes to revenue or money goals inside of my business, I always like to set good, better, and best goals. And usually for the good goal for money or revenue, it's what I made the year before, right? So that's how I kind of start that out for the beginning of the year. And then I break it down by month and then by day, right? Because it really helps me to tangibly see what I need to be making every single day, every single month to hit those year-long goals. Because I know sometimes it's kind of overwhelming to see this big number that you have for your revenue goal for the whole year, but then not really know what you need to be doing or making every single day to hit that. So that is what I do for revenue-based goals. Now, not all my goals are based around money, right? Like life is so much more than money. Yes, money is amazing and it really helps you to be able to make the choices that you want to be able to make. But I find that if I just focus on money, then I start to kind of lose sight of why I do all of this. So 2025, I have so many big goals. And one of the goals that I did in 2024 was to walk every single day. And I'm bringing that back into 2025. Walking daily has been so good for my mental health. It has been so good for just my body in general. Like I feel so much better when I walk every single day. And that's actually something that I am tracking daily. So I have this calendar. It's called a big ass calendar. I've talked about it before. That's actually the name. I'm not just calling it a big ass calendar, but I have this calendar and I buy little tiny stickers for the days that I walk every single day. So for this year, they're little hearts. So I put a little heart on every day that I walk. I've done every day so far, which I love. Obviously, there's going to be days where it might not happen, but my goal is to walk every single day. And I would urge you to find something that you can try and do every single day, because even if you don't hit it, something like this where you have a lot of control over whether you can walk or not. Like some days I literally walk to the mailbox and that counts as my daily walk, right? Like I try and do longer ones, but having this little thing that you can kind of commit to every single day that's not a huge commitment and doesn't take much time, it just makes me feel really accomplished too, right? Like on the weeks that I hit my walk every single day, I just feel really proud of myself and really good that I was able to kind of commit to something. Another goal for 2025 is to start monetizing my podcast with sponsors. Now, don't worry, it's not going to be the type of podcast ever that has, 5 minutes of sponsors before that podcast even starts. No, I really want to look into sponsors that are people and companies that I already work with and I already love. So that is my promise to you. If and when I do start working with sponsors, I don't really have much in the works yet, but I would really love to kind of pull in some companies to sponsor the podcast. And again, like I said, companies that I genuinely love, care about, and already work with. So I thought that would be a really fun thing to kind of try out. I always love trying new things in my business and not being afraid to try something, even though I'm like not comfortable at all with it. I have never done this. I literally don't even know where to start when it comes to this. I've posted about it a few times on Threads and I just always feel so overwhelmed with the information that people give. But one of my goals for this year, like I said, start monetizing the podcast. Next up, and this one's kind of vague, but it's vague on purpose because in past years, I've always set goals for like my body or my health that are so specific that it just feels like I don't have as much control over that, right? Like I didn't say I wanted to lose a certain amount of weight or be a certain size, but my goal for 2025 is genuinely to love my body again because I feel like I've spent years not recognizing the body that I'm in. And if you've been around for a while, you know that I have been dealing with mold in my body and detoxing from that, and it caused me to gain weight. And so I just haven't felt comfortable in my body, but I am finally feeling safe to lose a little bit of weight and safe to love my body at every stage that it is in, which is hard to do, especially as a female. I feel like I just have always kind of picked my body apart, and being a content creator and being on social media all the time does not help because I'm like seeing myself out there all the time and immediately like, oh, I hate the way my arms look, or oh, I hate the way that my waist looks in that, or oh my gosh, how many chins do I have in that video? It's like, it's so easy to pick yourself apart. So one of my goals for 2025 is to love my body because I only got one and this is the one that I get to live with for the rest of my life. So really trying to love my body and nourish it and just show up every day saying, wow, I love this body that I'm in. So another goal for this year that I tried to do last year, did not quite hit it, but weekly date nights with my husband, Trevor. I feel like when you have a kid and then you have a business, it's so easy to kind of let go of your relationship with your spouse or your partner. And I don't want to do that. And last year, we were so much better about going on dates and just spending time together. But that is going to be a huge goal for us this year because I love my husband and I want to make time for that relationship and kind of just nourish it a little bit more now that my business is not new anymore. My daughter's a little bit older. So we already have one planned for next week. We're going to go to our favorite Mexican food place. It's so good. If you live in Boise, Idaho, it's called Amano and it's in Caldwell, Idaho, and it's so good. You have to try it. Next up, and I'm already crushing it with this goal, is to read 12 non-business books. Now, your girl has no problem flying through business books. I love them. I eat them up. I feel accomplished when I'm reading them. And that's not why I want to read. I want to read to enjoy and to get lost in stories again. I will never forget the first time I read Harry Potter when I was a teenager. And I fell in love with reading when I read that series. And I just remember feeling like every day I wanted to sit down and read and kind of just get lost in the stories. And now, like I said, I use reading more so for knowledge and learning new things for my business. And that's great too. But one of my goals this year is to read one book per month. So 12 books for the whole year that has nothing to do with business and just for fun. And I'm actually reading one already. I started it yesterday and I'm almost halfway through it. I love autobiographies. And this one it's so good. It is about one of the actresses from One Tree Hill. And of course, I forgot the name of the book. It's something with vampires, but I'll link it down below. It's my first read of the year. I'm already obsessed with it. It's so good. And I'm just finding myself falling in love with reading again. Now, if you have book recommendations that are not business related, like if it's an autobiography about somebody who owned a business, love it. That totally counts. But if you have any like favorite books that are fiction or autobiographies or biographies, send them my way on Instagram at Abigail Pugh. Send me a DM. I want to read them all. Next up, and this one's going to be hard because I literally have no idea what I'm going to do. I was thinking about maybe paint by numbers or something fun and creative, but my next goal for 2025 is to find a hobby that I cannot monetize. My brain is so business, entrepreneur, solopreneur orientated that sometimes I take everything and I like turn it into something that I can monetize or make it a business. And I want to find something that I just enjoy. Like my husband has gotten into golfing and skiing with my daughter and they are loving it. And not to say I couldn't get into either of those, but I just want to get into something, some sort of hobby that I can just fully dive into and enjoy. And I'm not allowed to turn it into a business. So if you have any ideas for that, please, again, send them my way because I need to just learn how to be and not constantly be working or coming up with new business ideas and things like that. So finding a hobby I can't monetize. Let's see if I can do it. Next up, and this one was one that we tried in 2024, and it's not that we didn't try, it didn't work out. And this one is, I don't know if it has to happen in 2025. I'd love for it to happen in the next year or two, but finding a property or a bigger house with a little bit more land. We love our home. It was always supposed to be kind of a starter home for us, but we definitely want a little bit more land, a little bit more space. And we live in Boise, Idaho. It already kind of feels like we live in the country, but we just haven't found kind of exactly where we want to be. And this next property or house or land, whatever it is that we buy, we really want it to be where we're at for the next 10 years or so. So we have a lot of requirements, I guess, or opinions on what we want. And my husband and I kind of have very different opinions. Like we both like what the other one likes, but it's just making it harder to find that property. So really hoping we find that this year. Just feel good to kind of be settled. Like I said, I love our home. I'm so grateful for it. It's the first home we ever bought and it's wonderful, but it's just not something that we will fit for the next 5 to 10 years. So really hoping we can find that this year. Another one is take our family to Disneyland again. We did this last year for Valentine's Day with my daughter, and it was just so fun to A, go when not a lot of people are going to Disneyland, but B, just to kind of have this special family trip. My daughter Bean is 4. She's not going to love Disneyland forever, probably. So going during these younger years has just been so much fun. So we're doing that again. And this year, I'm so excited. We're bringing my mom, my mother-in-law, my sister, my brother-in-law, and their kids. So it'll be such a party. I'm so very excited. These types of things are so fun. And it's just so fun to, I don't know, enjoy your family and take them places and do fun things with them. And so, yes, this is a 2025 goal, but it's actually already on the calendar, which is fun. So there's one of my goals I've already accomplished for the year. But again, I like putting those things on my goal list so that at the end of the year, you can just kind of see the things that you put out there and that you did. My next goal is to be a guest on 5 other podcasts. So podcasting has become so much fun for me and I love it. And I love listening to other podcasts, right? And seeing and discovering new people based on the guests that people have, right? So one of my goals this year is to pitch myself to 5 podcasts as a guest. And it feels very nerve-wracking for me to do this. I don't know why. Like pitching myself out to other people makes me feel so scary and nervous. And I think that's one of the reasons I love social media so much is that I'm not necessarily pitching to one person. Like I'm talking to multiple people when I'm posting a reel and it doesn't feel as scary to me. I don't know, but the like one-to-one pitching makes me a little bit nervous, but I'm very excited. There's 10 podcasts that I've written down that I'm like, this year, I want to be a guest on at least 5 of these 10 podcasts. Haven't said one pitch yet. So, got to get on that. Again, I just feel a little bit nervous putting myself out there. So if you're in the same situation, it's totally normal to feel nervous. I feel like putting yourself out there and kind of pitching with this idea that they might say no, and that's totally okay. Now, another goal might seem kind of weird, but one of my goals this year is to not launch any new products. I feel like in the first year of my business, I loved launching and I think it was important. I needed to launch different products. I needed to launch different offers and just see what I loved, what my audience got the best results with. But now I really need to kind of settle into a place of not running a business that needs launches to be sustainable and long-term. Like I love launching and I think it's important, but this year, my goal, I'm not going to create and launch any new products, right? I might launch products that are no longer available right now that I've already created, but I'm not creating and launching anything new this year. I really just want to focus on what I already have this year, growing my audience, nurturing my audience, and not kind of falling into the trap of launching all the time, right? Because yes, there's a lot of money to be made in launching all the time, but it is exhausting. And I don't want a business that requires me to launch something new all the time in order to be sustainable and long-term. So one of my goals, don't launch anything new this year. Now, the next goal is to record and share 52 podcast episodes this year, which is 1 a week, which is what I'm already doing. And this is huge for me. I feel like showing up and doing something every single week tends to get a little mundane for me. So just staying in this rhythm and not ever missing a week will be something that I would be so proud if I did. Since I launched this podcast in April of, April of 2024, I have not missed a week. So I'm doing good. I'm staying with this. But again, I think it's important to set these goals and really have something to work towards and have some goals that you can do, but just writing it down to make sure that you are actually doing what it takes to hit that goal. Another one is to send at least one email per week. I have this incredible email list that I've been building since the beginning, and I don't know why email makes me nervous. And I feel like when I send an email, I'm like, am I going to make somebody mad? Or do they not want to receive this from me? And I don't feel that about social media. Like when I post a reel, I'm like, awesome, whoever needs this, they're going to see it. And I love it. And I literally never feel that when it comes to posting on Instagram or Threads or wherever social media I'm posting. But when it comes to email, I just always feel like I'm annoying people, which I know I'm not. But one of my goals for this year is to send one email per week. And I actually need to send one for this first week. I've got a few days left before it's already been a week in the new year. But that is one of my goals for this year. And one of the ways that I send emails every single week that is easy, which I've never continuously done it for, I think, more than 5 weeks, just because, again, I get this feeling of, I'm bugging people. But what I love to do is take one of my posts from Instagram, so a reel or a carousel from that week or the week before, and turn that into an email. It's really not that hard. Usually I will take like the hook that I used for the reel or the carousel, and that's my subject line. And then I will also take kind of the content from the caption and mix a little bit of that with what I said on the reel. And that is my email. And then I sign off. Like, it's not that hard. And I think sometimes we need to create new content for every single part of our business, when in reality, people digest content in different ways, right? So some people like to read, some people prefer to see it in a reel, some people prefer to scroll and see a carousel. So you're actually doing yourself such a disservice if you're creating one piece of content only in one area, right? So my goal, again, this year is to send one email per week. And the way I'm going to do that is by taking one of my posts and turning that into an email every single week. And actually, if you are inside Rich Girl Community, which is my community, they will be getting prompts for this as well. So if you're in the community and you don't know what to send your email list this week, starting this week, right? So for all of 2025, there will now be email prompts for you to nurture and connect and send to your audience every single week. So if you're not already in Rich Girl Community, you should be. It's the best place to be if you are trying to sell digital products and grow on Instagram in 2025. So I will drop the link below for that for you guys as well. Rich Girl Community, it's my favorite place to be. Now, last but not least, and this goal I have some control over, obviously, but you never know. We don't know what's going to happen. But one of my goals this year, and this is the last one that I'm going to share today, is to have another baby, or at least get pregnant with another baby, which this feels super vulnerable and scary to share. But since my daughter was born, and then my husband had his strokes, and then I was dealing with mold, like there's just been so many things that kind of pushed back our timeline for having more kids. And now I am the sole breadwinner for our family. So I've just felt kind of nervous to have another baby and not really know what's going to happen. But I feel like I've spent the last 2.5 years preparing my body and my business for having another baby and just creating a sustainable business that can support me and, not be overwhelming when I do have another baby. So all that to say, last goal of 2025 is to have a baby, and I would just be so excited if it happened. Again, I'm trying not to put too much like hope into it, just because, you never know. My body's been through a lot in the past few years. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with that, but we would love to have more kids, and hopefully in 2025 that will happen. So again, you guys, thank you so much for listening to these goals and these big dreams that I have for 2025. If you haven't sat down and taken some time to write out your goals, I strongly recommend that you do. I think it's really important to just be very clear on what you want to accomplish in a year. And like I said, I always like to throw some in there that I know for sure are going to happen. And it's like I've kind of put into place what I needed to do to make that happen, even if it hasn't happened yet, because I think it feels really good to know that you're for sure going to hit some goals, but to also have some to really work towards. I love having something to work towards. And I believe, don't quote me on this, I believe you have a 43% higher chance of hitting a goal if you write it down. So write this down, right? Like I wrote it down. I created this podcast about it. I'm actually going to create a reel too, where I'm kind of like talking to myself at the end of the year saying like, oh, hey, like this was one of our goals. Did that happen? And then I can kind of share if those things happened or not, because I love kind of seeing where I'm at the end of the year. And it's really fun to have the content that you're creating right now to look back on to see, okay, did I hit these goals? If not, what did I do instead? And things like that. So Thank you guys so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode or any of my other episodes, I would really appreciate it if you could go leave a review wherever it is that you listen. They help my podcast and my ratings and all those fun things so much. And I'm so grateful that you are here. Next week's episode is going to be so much fun. I'm doing a 90-day challenge where I sell one product for 90 days, every single day. And I will kind of talk about the rules and things that I put in place for myself for that, but it's already going so well. So next week's podcast episode will be all about my 90-day challenge and how you can kind of see the behind the scenes of all that inside my community. So love you, mean it, and I will see you next week. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. If you learned anything from this episode, I would love it if you could share it over on your Instagram stories and tag me at Abigail Pugh. Until next time, love you, mean it.